Former President Olusegun Obasanjo, at a public lecture on Saturday, declared that Nigeria is becoming increasingly volatile and filled with suffering. He highlighted various critical issues, particularly focusing on the nation's growing insecurity, which has rendered the country dangerous and exacerbated widespread hunger.
Former President Olusegun Obasanjo criticized the removal of history from Nigeria's educational curriculum amongst a myriad of issues. He stressed the urgent need for leadership to step up and create a better environment for Nigerians, emphasizing that despite Africa's rich resources, poor leadership has stymied progress and development. To discuss some of these issues, we're joined by Achike Chude, he's a public affairs analyst. Good morning, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Great to have you on the program. Of course, every now and then the former president speaks up, and of course, shares his thoughts on the current situation across the country. Those, of course, some people would also criticize him for the role that he played. But let's get into some of the things that he mentioned. Let's start with insecurity. We have a new government in office that, of course, has a lot of responsibility on its hands. Would you say that they seem to have, started on the right footing? And of course, they're tackling some of these issues head on as they promised?
What I do know is that every government comes in with the initial swagger, as we call it in Nigeria. Every government, there's no government, that has not come in with a lot of hope in terms of, what they tell the people, and that is especially in a democratic system where governments are brought into power by characterized every government. It's like a new wind that is being blown, across the landscape. It is the best moment for the government because any government is strongest, at the point of its newness, before people begin to, so people become wary of continuous statements from the government, which they attribute over time, if they don't see concrete results, as propaganda. This finest moment in terms of, the feeling of the people. But as the months go by and as the years go by, and people do not see any visible, any means, any indicator, they will grow in criticism, and then that government will find it very difficult to also, without getting the will of the people, to move on along. So I think, in a way, what the government, which it is going to stand subsequently, and that is the foundation of policies, coming up with policies and so on. And they have done, is that people don't eat policies, people don't live on policies. Really. So what people are looking at is their immediate circumstance, their existence at this particular moment, which the government has not bettered. In fact, as a result of these policies, the people have had to endure a series of suffering, unmitigated, unprecedented suffering, never seen before. And so, obviously, they're going to hold the government responsible because the government came in to do something with the economy, to do something about insecurity in the country, to do something about fighting corruption and so on. All of those things that the APC talked about, even in 2011, prior to removing the PDP government of Goodluck Jonathan.
All right. The suffering and hunger, unfortunately, is something that most Nigerians experience, but the major question is whether the government is aware, or do you find that the government is completely disconnected from the reality of the suffering and the hunger that the average Nigerian is going through?
Well, the government, through their spokespeople, even the president too, have given an indication that they are very much aware of what Nigerians are going through, that and they predicate what will happen on the fact that Nigerians should endure the pain. These pains are normally associated with growth and progress. So that's, from that perspective, the government would claim that they know, but don't forget that even if they say they know, they are not wearing the shoes. And just like Bob Marley said, he who wears the shoes knows where it pinches, knows how it pinches. So obviously they are not wearing the shoes that we're wearing, So regardless of the acknowledgement of the suffering in the land, they don't know how deep and burdensome this suffering is.